In the bitter cold of a December night, the lotuses had succumbed to the bite of frost. But somehow a single bloom had blossomed in the garden pond of Sudas, the florist. He picked it, thinking he would sell it, and rushing to the palace gate, he begged for an audience with the king. Just at that time, a traveler passing by became overjoyed to see the flower. "How untimely is your lotus! I must have it." "How much do you want for it?" he asked. "Buddha, the living God, is in the city today, and I wish to offer it at his feet." "I was hoping for 1 grain of gold for it," said the florist. The traveler agreed to pay. But all of a sudden the king himself, carrying lavish offerings for worship, appeared in his royal splendor. Chanting auspicious songs, His Majesty Prasanjit, the King of Kings, was on his way to pay his homage to Lord Buddha. "How much do you want for it?" he asked, citing the untimely lotus. "I want to buy it and offer it at the feet of the Lord," he said. "My king, this gentleman has agreed to pay 1 grain of gold," said the florist. "I'll pay 10 grains, said the king of the land. 20 grains I'll pay, said the traveler. Both began bidding, none retreating, and the price kept going up. The florist thought, "Who knows how much more I can get if I would give it to the person for whom these two are fighting?" "Please forgive me," said he with folded hands. "My heart is not in selling it anymore." So saying, he ran for the place where Lord Buddha was seated, lighting up the whole garden. Seated in a lotus position, he was the embodiment of bliss, purity, and serenity. With his eyes showering peace, his lips blossoming in a sweet smile, he radiated mercy and compassion all around. Gazing with unblinking eyes, Sudas was speechless. Suddenly, he sprawled on the ground, offering the lotus at the Lord's feet. Showering the nectar of grace, the Lord asked with a beatific smile, "What is your desire, my son?" "Just a grain of dust off your feet, my lord, and nothing more," said Sudas, overwhelmed with gratitude. The Trifling Loss. A chill January wind was blowing on the crystal clear water rushing through the Varuna River. Karuna, the queen of Kashi, with her 100 companions, was on her way to bathe. She was going to the stone ghat in the Jambak Grove of a solitary village far away from the royal palace. By the decree of the king, the road and the ghat were deserted that morning. The people living in the huts nearby had left. So the riverbank was lonely and somber. Only the cooing of birds was resounding in the Jambak Grove. On that day, the river was turbulent in the blowing, frigid north wind. The enchanted waves glittered in the golden sunlight, flooding the water. The river appeared like a dancing maiden, adorned with 1,000,000 sparkling gems. Abashed, the sweet murmur of the river, their playful arms was as delicate as lotus stalks, intoxicating the restless river. The laughter and chatter of the frolicking women filled the air, wafting to the sky. When the bathing was done, and when all the women were coming out of the water, the queen said, "Ah, this biting cold is making me shiver all over. Dear friends, light a fire and let me stave off this frigid cold in its warmth." Her companions went into the flower garden to gather twigs and straw. Engrossed in their merrymaking, they were tugging at the branches, when all of a sudden, in a jovial voice, the queen called after them, saying, "All of you, please gather here. See that hut over there? Set it on fire for me, so that I may warm my hands and feet in its heat." Saying which, the queen broke out in uncontrollable laughter. Maliti pleaded, saying in a doleful tone, "What a joke you're making, Queen Mother. Why should we set it on fire? It might belong to a holy man, or a poor man, or even a foreigner. We know nothing at all." Angered, the queen ordered, "Take this bleeding heart out of my sight." Enthralled in making fun, the cruel companions, intoxicated by their youth's passion, set the hut on fire in mad obsession. The dense smoke from the fire was rising to the sky in spirals. In no time it began to roar, scattering bursts of sparks flying around. Hundreds of flaming tongues filled the sky. As if sprouting from the netherworld, there came hordes of flaming serpents, hoods of flame, and swaying in the wind, the roaring serpents leapt into the sky. To the ears of the queen, wrapped in destruction, it was the tune of ruination. The cry of fear stopped the blithe singing of the morning birds, and instead there came the clamor of a band of crows filling the air. The north wind raged and the fire leapt from hut to hut in frenzied fury. The tongue of annihilation lapped up the small village. The queen, tired of her merrymaking, returned with her 100 companions through the desolate road in that January morning, carrying with her the flames of desire. At that time the king was in his court, seated on his judgment seat, when a band of his homeless subjects came to him to tell him humbly and dolefully and with trepidation the tale of their sorrowful state. The king, red-faced in shame, got up from his seat and left the court. He entered the queen's chamber, and in an unusual time, and said, "My queen, what kind of conduct is this? By what royal right have you burnt the homes of these poor subjects?" Angered, the queen said, "How can you call those homes? Only a few decrepit huts are gone. How much loss is there in the world in that? How much treasure is spent in just one moment of pleasure for the queen?" The king, holding back his anger, said, "I know that as long as you are the queen, you will never understand the loss a poor man suffers from the loss of his hut. But I'll make you feel it in a hard way." At the command of the king, a maid removed the queen's adornments and mercilessly replaced the royal garments, resplendent as the rising sun, with the worn-out garb of a poor beggar woman. While leaving her on the street, the king said,
By begging from door to door, you will raise the money to rebuild all the huts which will burn down to satisfy your short-lived sporting pleasure. I am giving you 1 year, and at its end you, young lady, will return to the royal court, and after bowing to all, you will tell the extent of the loss to the world suffered from the destruction of those old huts. City Goddess of Wealth. In the city of Sravasti, where Buddha lived, there came a severe famine. People cried out for food. Buddha called his disciples and asked each of them, "Which one of you would like to offer service to the hungry by providing food for them?" Listening to this, Ratinaka, the rich merchant, with his head hanging down, answered, "The entire city is hungry, and I do not have the power to meet their hunger, O Lord." Samant, the general, said, "I could have taken your order on my head if I could serve the people with blood from my heart, but that will not satisfy their growing hunger." Drawing a large sigh, the minister said, "What can I do? My golden fields have been sucked up by the unproductive devil. I am unable to pay the taxes, and I have turned into a helpless poor man." Everyone looked at each other, and in the town hall of the city, suffering in raging pain, no one knew what to do. Buddha's eyes stayed fixed like the evening star. Then, with humility and submission, the red-faced daughter of Anapinda stood. She took the dust from the Buddha's feet in reverence and said in a sweet voice, "I, a humble daughter of a beggar woman, will carry out your orders. For those who cry out in hunger are my children, and I take the responsibility of distributing the food to all that need help in this city." Everyone was astonished. Then they became angry and asked, "The daughter of a beggar woman and a beggar yourself? By what pride do you take on such a difficult task? What do you own?" She replied, "I have only my begging bowl and the clothes on my back. I am a destitute and helpless woman as compared to all of you. So I will receive your compassion, and my Lord's order will be fulfilled. My wealth is overflowing in each of your houses. If you all wish, my begging bowl will never become exhausted. I will then save the city by distributing this wealth to the starving people." The Representative. One morning, while sitting on the parapet of the Sitara fort, Shivaji, who established an independent Hindu state in India after fighting against the Muslim Mughal Empire, observed that Ramdas, his guru, was going begging from door to door. He thought, how strange! My guru, who wants for nothing in his home, has a begging bowl in his hand. He has everything in his palm, and even the king is at his feet. Yet there is no end to his desire. To quench his desire is as futile as trying to quench one's thirst by pouring water all day and night into a pot with a hole in it. Shivaji thought to himself, I must find out how much I will have to give in order to fill his begging bowl. At once he took out a pen and paper, and I know not what he wrote, but calling his servant Balaji to his presence, he said, When my guru comes near the fort, leave this letter at his feet. On the street below, travelers were going by on foot and in horse-drawn carriages, and the Guru Ram Das was going by too, singing, O God, O Shiva, you have given a home to everyone, but only the road to me. My divine mother, Annapurna, has the burden of feeding the world so that all creatures in it are satisfied. But you, my Lord, a beggar yourself, have taken me away from my mother and made me your follower. After ending his song, Ram Das finished his midday ablution. When he came to the gate of the fort, Balaji, after saluting him, placed the king's letter at the Guru's feet and stood aside. The Guru, picking up the letter, out of curiosity, read it. It said, Shivaji, after paying due obeisance, has given away his kingdom with its capital to Ram Das from that day forward. The next day Ram Das went to the king and said, Tell me, my son, what will you do if you give away your kingdom to me? Gifted as you are, what other skills do you have? Shivaji, making obeisance, said, Gladly, I'll offer my life at your feet as your servant. The Guru said, Then take my begging bowl and go out and beg. Shivaji, with his begging bowl in hand, went with his Guru, begging from door to door. The children, seeing the king, ran to their parents in fear. To see someone of such wealth out begging is as strange as seeing a stone floating on water. Thinking that this must be a great man playing at begging, the householders gave him alms with trembling hands. The noon hour gong struck in the fort, and the citizens began to enjoy a short rest, taking a little time off of work. Playing on his one-stringed instrument, the Guru Ram Das, with tears of joy streaming from his eyes, sang, O Lord of the three worlds, I don't understand your design. You have no wants, yet, my Lord, in your heart, you beg everyone to give their all to you. At last, at the end of the day, off in a corner of the city, after completion of his ablution in the river, the Guru joyfully cooked the alms he had received. He ate a little and gave the rest to his disciple. The king said, smiling, Crushing the king's pride, you have made him a street beggar. Whatever you may desire, this servant is ready. He will gladly suffer forever any pain from his teacher. The Guru said, Then listen to me. You have just taken a severe vow, and to match it, the task will also be formidable. What I ask of you is to take back, on my behalf and in my name, the kingdom you have given me. Lord has made you the representative of a beggar. You will be a king in name only, remaining detached from all possessions. Know that the king's duty, which you will perform, will be my work. Though you will take charge of the kingdom, you will own none of it. Continuing, Ram Das said, "My son, take with my blessings my ochre scarf. Make this scarf from the one who has renounced the world your banner." The disciple king remained seated on the riverbank, his forehead furrowed with countless thoughts. The cattle herder's flute became silent as the cattle were homeward bound from their pastures, and the sun set below the far horizon. Unperturbed, Ram Das began to sing a song in Purabi, an evening tune. "Adorning me as a king in this world, who are you that remain hidden within? O my king, I have with me your footwear, and let me place myself under your footstool." The evening is descending. How long shall I wait? O my king, come to your kingdom.
ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। हरिः ॐ।
This story is taken from Chandogya Upanishad. The word Upanishad literally means a sitting in front of. It refers to the practice of disciples gathering before a sage for discussion of religious issues. The Upanishad concentrates on the ultimate reality of life, the Brahman. In early days, 800 to 400 BC, the reading of Upanishad was restricted to the privileged class of Brahmins. Through this story, Tagore brings to light that the knowledge of truth is not limited to Brahmins. It is open to all seekers of truth. It was on the bank of Saraswati, an ancient river of India now extinct. The disciples of sage Gautama returned to the hermitage after their daily chore. After taking bath in the river, the disciples took their seats around the sage Gautama for their evening lesson. The auspicious fire was lightening their faces in the dark background. The sky was dark with the constellation of stars, like the disciples sitting quiet around the Guru. Suddenly, Sage Gautama broke the silence and said, "Today I am going to impart to you the supreme knowledge of Brahman." Right at this moment, entered a young boy with folded hands, carrying his offerings to the sage, touched his feet with great respect, and spoke in a sweet voice. Revered sir, I am coming from Kushakshetra with the desire of being initiated by you for getting the knowledge of Brahman. Hearing this, the sage said with a smile, May God bless you, young man. What is your family lineage or gotra? Only the Brahmins have the right to learn about the knowledge of Brahman. The young boy said, Revered sir, my name is Satyakam. I do not know my family lineage. Please allow me to ask my mother, and I get back to you by tomorrow. Thus saying, Satyakam bowed to the feet of the sage and returned to his hut, walking through the deep dark forest and over the sandy beach of Saraswati. He approached his mother's hut, lighted with a lamp. His caring mother Jabala was waiting for him at the door. As soon as she saw Satyakam, she quickly came forward, embraced him, and asked if everything was all right. Satyakam inquired, Tell me, mother, what is my father's name? What is my family lineage? I went to sage Gautama for initiation in order to obtain the knowledge of Brahman. The Guru said, only the Brahmins have the privilege to know about Brahman. Tell me, what is my family lineage? Hearing this, Jabala, bending her head down, said in a soft voice, Struck by poverty in my youth, I got you after many years of prayers. You were born of a widow with no identity of your father. Next day, with the rising sun, the young disciples arrived at the hermitage. The sage was then sitting under the shade of a banyan tree. The disciples sang the morning prayers, joining the chorus of the birds. Satyakam came near sage Gautama, touched his feet, and sat quietly with a vacant look. The teacher inquired, What is your family lineage, dear? Raising his head, the boy answered, Revered sir, I do not know my family lineage. I asked my mother, and she said, I got you with many years of prayers. You are born of a widow with no father. All the disciples were shocked to hear this. Some got surprised, while others felt ashamed of him. How dare he aspires to obtain the knowledge of Brahman? Sage Gautama left his seat, stood up, and stretched his hands to embrace the young boy. He declared, Young man, you are above the Brahmins. You belong to the purest of all lineage, the lineage of truth. Though the story of Satyakam, as written by Tagore, ends here, but Chandogya further describes the concluding life of Satyakam. Sage Gautama taught Satyakam the way to realize Brahman by realizing one's own self, the Atman. Most unusually, Sage Gautama gave Satyakam 400 sickly cows to take care on distant pasture lands away from home and stay isolated in the open for 1 year. During this period of isolation, Satyakam realized the vastness of Brahman by looking at his creations around him and contemplating on Brahman. His creation of the sun, the moon, the river, the trees, and the living world of animals. He conceived the innermost truth of Hindu philosophy, the Atman, Tat Tvam Asi. Thou art that.
Nanyah pantha vidyate yanaya. Nanyah pantha vidyate yanaya. Nanyah pantha vidyate yanaya.
The gods devour. In Bengal, India, there was a nice village at the junction of the rivers Churni and Rupnarayan. In this village there lived a kind-hearted Hindu Brahmin known as Moitramashai, who was respected by all. Apart from other religious acts, Moitramashai annually led a party of pilgrims to the sea for an immersion in the holy waters that ran in front of a temple where the river joins the sea. The journey was expensive, and it took 2 months for the pilgrims to go and return. With the beginning of winter, the time came to make the annual religious boat journey. As the boat was being prepared for the trip, Mokshada, a poor young widow from the village, came to Moitramashai asking if he would take her along on the journey. Mokshada had a charming, restless young boy named Rakal. When Rakal was born, Mokshada had become seriously ill and was unable to care for him, so the boy had been taken in by Mokshada's only sister, Onyada, who had raised Rakal as her own son. Moitramashai declined Mokshada's request, saying, "Where would I put you in this crowded boat? Moreover, what are you going to do with Rakal? He is too small to be left alone without a mother." Mokshada appealed, "I will take the floor and Rakal will stay with his auntie Onyada. He loves his auntie more than me and he will be safe." Moitramashai reluctantly agreed. But when Mokshada arrived at the boat on the day of their trip, she saw Rakal already sitting in the boat. Mokshada shouted, "Get out of that boat right now!" Rakal calmly replied, "I'm going with you to bathe in the sea." Mokshada screamed, "No, you are not. This is a very long journey and we're not doing it for fun. Please stay with your auntie and I will be back soon." Rakal refused to listen and started crying. "I want to go to the sea." In the meantime, Moitramashai had come onto the boat. Onyada also arrived, wishing to say goodbye to Mokshada. When she saw Rakal sitting in the boat, she said to him, "Dear Rakal, please come down. Sea bathing is not for children. You know very well I can't stay without you." Rakal insisted, "I'll come back soon, auntie. Don't worry, I'll be all right." Moitramashai finally intervened. "Let him go. I will take care of him." Mokshada became angry with Rakal for not listening to her, and she cursed in a mother's tone, "If you come, I will throw you into the sea before we come back." The moment she uttered her angry curse, she realized what she had said, and looked up to the heavens begging to be excused. Moitra Mashai was scared. "You as a mother should never have uttered such a wish." Mokshada said with regret, "You know I didn't mean it." Then she drew Rakal close to her heart, wishing the curse away. The pilgrims invoked the name of the Almighty to make their journey safe. The boat left the bank, and the shore slowly disappeared on the horizon till there was nothing but water surrounding them. It was a long 2 months' journey, and Rakal became bored and impatient to return to the village. He missed his auntie. When the time came for the journey home, the tide came in, and the boat started to move very fast. Suddenly the wind began to blow, and a severe storm began to form around them. Large waves hit the boat, and the passengers began to fear they would sink. Rakal got scared and hid in his mother's lap. Suddenly the boatman shouted, "The boat is out of control! This is God's wrath! Is there anyone here who did not keep his promise?" Moitra Mashai remembered that Mokshada had promised to throw her son into the sea, and she did not. This might have made God angry, endangering the lives of so many passengers. The helpless boatmen were losing their control on the boat, and the pilgrims screamed. Moitra Mashai commanded Mokshada to throw the child into the water as she had promised. Mokshada appealed that she had not meant it, but it was too late. Mokshada looked up and cried helplessly, "Oh God, you who know everyone's mind, you know that I did not mean what I said. Are you so cruel that you would snatch a child away from his mother's lap?" In the confusion of the beating storm and the crying pilgrims, the sailors snatched away the child and threw him into the river. Rakal screamed out for the last time from a distance, "Mama! Auntie!" But soon he sank down into the turbulent water. Moitra Mashai was stunned. He stood with his eyes closed, overcome with guilt, listening to the death cry of the small boy and the tears of his mother. All of a sudden, Moitra Mashai dove into the river to save Rakal. But the river was in a mad fury, and in a moment, both Moitra Mashai and Rakal sank into the churning waters. After a while, the tide stopped. The river became quiet, and the boats returned to the village as the sun set slowly in the distance. Ignorance combined with blind superstition had led to this disaster, taking away 2 lives, an innocent child and a kind-hearted man. Can God be satisfied by devouring innocent lives?
গ্রামে গ্রামে সেই বার্তা রটি গেল ক্রমে, মৈত্র মহাশয় যাবে সাগর সঙ্গমে তীর্থ স্নান লাগে। সঙ্গী দল গেল জুটি, কত বাল ও বৃদ্ধ নরনারী, নৌকা দুটি প্রস্তুত হইল ঘাটে। পুণ্য লোভাতুর মোক্ষদা কহিল আসি, হে দাদা ঠাকুর, আমি তব হব সাথী। বিধবা যুবতী দুখানি করুণ আঁখি, মানে না যুকতি, কেবল মিনতি করে। অনুরোধ তার এড়ানো কঠিন বড়, স্থান কোথার? মৈত্র কহিলেন তারে, পায়ে ধরি তব। বিধবা কহিল কাঁদি, স্থান করি লব কোনো মতে এক ধারে। ভিজে গেল মন, তবু দ্বিধা ভরে তারে শুধালো ব্রাহ্মণ, নাবালক ছেলেটির কি করিবে তবে? উত্তর করিল নারী, রাখাল সে রবে আপন মাসির কাছে। তার জন্ম পরে বহুদিন ভুগেছিল সুতিকার জ্বরে, বাঁচিব ছিল না আশা। অন্নদা তখন আপন শিশুর সাথে দিয়ে তারে স্তন মানুষ করেছে যত্নে। সেই হতে ছেলে মাসির আদরে আছে মার কোল ফেলে। দুরন্ত মানে না কারে, করিলে শাসন মাসি আসি অশ্রু জলে ভরিয়া নয়ন কোলে তারে টেনে লয়। সে থাকিবে সুখে মার চেয়ে আপনার মাসিমার বুকে। সম্মত হইল বিপ্র, মোক্ষদা সত্তর প্রস্তুত হইল বাঁধি জিনিসপত্তর। প্রণমিয়া গুরুজনে সখী দল বলে, ভাসাইয়া বিদায়ের শোক ও অশ্রু জলে। ঘাটে আসি দেখে সেথা আগে ভাগে ছুটি, রাখাল বসিয়া আছে তরি পরে উঠি নিশ্চিন্ত নীরবে। তুই হেথা কেন রে? মা শুধালো, সে কহিল, যাইব সাগরে। যাইবি সাগরে? আরে ওরে দস্যু ছেলে, নেমে আয়। পুনরায় দৃঢ় চক্ষু মেলে সে কহিল দুটি কথা, যাইব সাগরে। যত তার বাহু ধরি টানাটানি করে রহিল সে তরণী আঁকড়ি। অবশেষে ব্রাহ্মণ করুণ স্নেহে কহিলেন হেসে, থাক থাক সঙ্গে যাক। মা রাগিয়া বলে, চল তোরে দিয়া আসি সাগরের জলে। যেমনি সে কথা গেল আপনার কানে, অমনি মায়ের বক্ষ অনুতাপ বাণে বিধিয়া কাঁদিয়া উঠে। মুদিয়া নয়ন নারায়ণ নারায়ণ করিল স্মরণ। পুত্রে নিল কোলে তুলে তার সর্বদেহে, করুণ কল্যাণ হস্ত বুলাইল স্নেহে। মৈত্র তারে ডাকি ধীরে চুপি চুপি কয়, ছি ছি ছি, এমন কথা বলিবার নয়। রাখাল যাইবে সাথে, স্থির হলো কথা। অন্নদা লোকের মুখে শুনি সে বারতা, ছুটে আসি বলে, বাছা কোথা যাবি ওরে? রাখাল কহিল হাসি, চলিনু সাগরে, আবার ফিরিব মাসি। পাগলের প্রায় অন্নদা কহিল ডাকি, ঠাকুর মশাই, বড় যে দুরন্ত ছেলে রাখাল আমার, কে তাহারে সামালিবে? জন্ম হতে তার মাসি ছেড়ে বেশিক্ষণ থাকেনি কোথাও। কোথায় রে নিয়ে যাবে? ফিরে দিয়ে যাও। রাখাল কহিল, মাসি যাইব সাগরে, আবার ফিরিব আমি। বিপ্র স্নেহ ভরে কহিলেন, যতক্ষণ আমি আছি ভাই, তোমার রাখাল লাগি কোনো ভয় নাই। এখন শীতের দিন, শান্ত নদী নদ, অনেক যাত্রীর মেলা, পথের বিপদ কিছু নাই। যাতায়াতে মাস দুই কাল, তোমারে ফিরায়ে দিব তোমার রাখাল। শুভক্ষণে দুর্গাশ্বরী নৌকা দিল ছাড়ি, দাঁড়ায়ে রহিল ঘাটে যতকুলো নারী অশ্রু চোখে। হেমন্তের প্রভাত শিশিরে ছল ছল করে গ্রাম চূর্ণী নদী তীরে। যাত্রী দল ফিরে আসে, সাঙ্গ হলো মেলা, তরণী তীরেতে বাঁধা অপরাহ্ন বেলা। জোয়ারের আসে কৌতূহল অবসান, কাঁদিতেছে রাখালের গৃহগত প্রাণ মাসির কোলের লাগি। জল শুধু জল দেখে দেখে চিত্ত তার হয়েছে বিকল, মসৃণ চিক্কণ কৃষ্ণ কুটিল নিষ্ঠুর, লোলুপ লেলিহ জিহ্ব সর্প সমক্রূর, খল জল ছল ভরা তুলি লক্ষ ফণা, ফুঁসিছে গর্জিছে নিত্য করিছে কামনা, মৃত্তিকার শিশুদের লালায়িত মুখ। হে মাটি, হে স্নেহময়ী, ওই মৌন মুখ, ওই স্থির, ওই ধ্রুব, ওই পুরাতন, সর্বপদ্রব সহানন্দ ভবন, শ্যামল কোমলা, যেথা যে কে হই থাকে অদৃশ্য দুবাহু মেলি, টানিছ তাহাকে অহরহ। ওই মুগ্ধে কি বিপুল টানে, দিগন্ত বিস্তৃত তব শান্ত বক্ষ পানে। চঞ্চল বালক আসি প্রতি ক্ষণে ক্ষণে, অধীর উৎসুক কণ্ঠে সুধায় ব্রাহ্মণে, ঠাকুর কখন আজি আসিবে জোয়ার। সহসা স্তিমিত জলে আবেগ সঞ্চার, দুই কুল চেতাইল আশার সংবাদে, ফিরিল তরীর মুখ মৃদু আর্তনাদে, কাছিতে পড়িল টান কলশব্দ গীতে, সিন্ধুর বিজয় রথ পশিল নদীতে, আসিল জোয়ার। মাঝে দেবতারে শুনি তরিত উত্তর মুখে খুলে দিল তরি, রাখাল সুধায় আসি ব্রাহ্মণের কাছে, দেশে পৌঁছিতে আর কতদিন আছে। সূর্য অস্ত না যাইতে ক্রোশ দুই ছেড়ে, উত্তর বায়ুর বেগ ক্রমে উঠে বেড়ে, রূপনারায়ণের মুখে পড়ি বালুচর, সংকীর্ণ নদীর পথে বাঁধিল সমর, জোয়ারের স্রোতে আর উত্তর সমীরে উত্তাল উদ্দাম। তরণী ভিড়াও তীরে উচ্চ কণ্ঠে বারংবার কহে যাত্রী দল, উধাধীর চারিদিকে ক্ষিপ্তন্মত্ত জল আপনার রুদ্র নৃত্যে দেয় করতালি, লক্ষ লক্ষ হাতে আকাশে দেয় গালি, ফেনিল আক্রোশে একদিকে যায় দেখা, অতি দূর তীর প্রান্তে নীল বনরেখা, অন্যদিকে লুব্ধ ক্ষুব্ধ হিংস্র বাড়ি রাশি, প্রশান্ত সূর্যাস্ত পানে উঠেছে উচ্ছ্বাসী, উদ্ধত বিদ্রোহ ভরে নাহি মানে হাল, ঘুরে টলমল তরি অশান্ত মাতাল মূঢ় সম, তীব্র শীত পবনের শনি মিশিয়া ত্রাসের হিম নরনারীগণে কাঁপাইছে থরহরি, কেহ হতবাক কেহ বা ক্রন্দন করে ছাড়ি ঊর্ধ্ব ডাক ডাকে আত্মজনে। মৈত্র শুষ্ক পাংশু মুখে চক্ষু মুদি করে জপ, জননীর বুকে রাখাল লুকায়ে মুখ কাঁপিছে নীরবে। তখন বিপন্ন মাঝি ডাকি কহে সবে, বাবারে দিয়েছে ফাঁকি তোমাদের কেউ, যা মেনেছে দেয় নাই তাই এত ঢেউ, অসময়ে তুফান শুনো এই বেলা করহ মানত রক্ষা, করিও না খেলা ক্রুদ্ধ দেবতার শনে। যত ছিল অর্থ বস্ত্র যাহা কিছু জলে ফেলে দিল না করে বিচার, তবু তখনই পলকে তরিতে উঠিল জল দারুণ ঝলকে। মাঝি কহে পুনর্বার, দেবতার ধন কে যায় ফিরায় লয়ে এই বেলা শোন। ব্রাহ্মণ সহসা উঠি কহিলা তখনই মোক্ষদ্বারে লক্ষ্য করি, এই সে রমণী, দেবতারে সুপি দিয়ে আপনার ছেলে চুরি করে নিয়ে যায়, তাও তারে ফেলে। এক বাক্যে গর্জি উঠে তরা আসে নিষ্ঠুর যাত্রী সবে, কহে নারী, হে দাদা ঠাকুর রক্ষা করো রক্ষা করো। দুই দৃঢ় করে রাখালের প্রাণপণে বক্ষে চাপি ধরে, হর্ষিয়া গর্জিয়া উঠি কহিলা ব্রাহ্মণ, আমি তোর রক্ষাকর্তা, রোষে নিশ্চেতন মা হয়ে আপন পুত্র দিলি দেবতারে, শেষকালে আমি রক্ষা করিব তাহারে। শোধ দেবতার ঋণ সত্য ভঙ্গ করে, এতগুলি প্রাণী তুই ডুবাবি সাগরে। মোক্ষদা কহিল, অতি মূর্খ নারী আমি, কি বলেছি রোষ বসে, ও অন্তর জামি সেই সত্য হলো, সে যে মিথ্যা কত দূর তখনই শুনি কি তুমি বোঝনি ঠাকুর। শুধু কি মুখের বাক্য শুনেছ দেবতা, শোনোনি কি জননীর অন্তরের কথা। বলিতে বলিতে যত মিলি মাঝি দাঁড়ি, বল করি রাখালের নিল ছিঁড়ি কাড়ি। মার বক্ষ হতে মৈত্র মুদি দুই আঁখি, ফিরায় রহিল মুখ কানে হাত ঢাকি। দন্তে দন্ত চাপি বলে, কে তারে সহসা মর্মে মর্মে আঘাত দিল বিদ্যুতের কষা, দংশিল বৃশ্চিক দংশ। মাসি 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 বিন্ধিল বহ্নির শলা, রুদ্ধ কর্ণে আসি নিরুপায় অনাথের অন্তিমের ডাক। চিৎকারি উঠিল বিপ্র, রাখ রাখ রাখ, চকিতে হেরিল চাহি, মূর্ছি আছে পড়ে মুখ্যটা চরণে তাঁর। মুহূর্তের তরে ফুটন্ত তরঙ্গ মাঝে মেলিয়া আত্মচুপ, মাসি বলি ফুকারিয়া মিলালো বালর অনন্ত তিমির তলে। শুধু ক্ষীণে মুঠি বারেকে ব্যাকুল বলে ঊর্ধ্বপানে উঠি, আকাশে আশ্রয় খুঁজে ডুবিল হতাশে। ফিরায়ে আনিব তোরে, ওহে ঊর্ধ্বশ্বাসে ব্রাহ্মণ মুহূর্ত মাঝে ঝাঁপ দিল জলে। আর উঠিল না, সূর্য গেল অস্তাচলে।